Or me?
What do they call it?
Oh, I don't mind.
Graham.
Feel free to drop one by.
Figure what I'm gonna do is. Drive around this weekend.
Oh,
If
if you can put it in.
If our printer was having identity issues today, it would not staple in the correct spot, no matter how much I tried.
I have written December for the month 4 times today.
Oh, geez.
I guess I'm done with this year.
Don't be trying to rush the year.
No,
Exactly.
I'm done with this year, so.
I don't know. if it's important for pleasure.
I have.
It's probably for the end of the season.
Including. Plus the next one. I'll go to eat.
It's gonna make counting.
Everything.
Good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting of the Delta Township Board to order. Will the board members and guests please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Mohica.
Here.
Trustee Cascarilla.
Present.
Trustee Brewer. Trustee Bowen.
Here.
Treasurer Fedewa.
Here.
Clerk Clark is present. Supervisor Fletcher.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. A motion to excuse trustee Brewer.
So moved. Support.
Has been moved and supported to excuse trustee Brewer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. First up this evening, we have a special guest tonight. The Grand Ledge Public Schools new superintendent, Bill Barnes, is here this evening to give us an update on what's going on with the Grand Ledge School. So we want to welcome you, Superintendent Barnes.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'll hand up my
Thank you.
handouts and cards here very quickly.
If you leave one for Fonda, I'll make sure she gets it.
We can hand them out for you if you want. Okay, yeah, we'll just do that. Pass it around.
All right. Very good. Well, I appreciate the time this evening. I appreciate the invitation. So as superintendent, I firmly believe that as a school district goes, so goes the community, and as a community goes, so goes the school district. So Delta Township is a big part of our school district and a big part of our community. So an opportunity to be here tonight to just share a few things and an update with you, I thought was very important. And also to give you some space to ask me any questions you might have about Grand Ledge Public Schools. So I put together just a quick handout for you. A couple things. First, I think it's important as obviously we work together for you to know a little bit about me. I am a Grand Ledge alum myself. I graduated in 2000, so this is home for me. When I graduated from Grand Ledge, I went away and I earned my bachelor's degree in English and math at Western Michigan University, and I became an English and math teacher. So my first job was at Lansing Eastern High School, and then from Lansing Eastern I went to Charlotte, and I was in Charlotte for 14 years, 8 of those as the high school principal. But I was also an English and math teacher. I did some intervention work. I coached football, and I was a writing coach, so working with adult learners. And during that time, I got a master's and a doctorate from Michigan State. So I'm a Spartan as well. And then the opportunity to come back home popped up for me a few years ago. And so I came back to Grand Ledge as the assistant superintendent for 3 years, working on academic services. So all things instruction, assessment, all those types of things, the teaching and learning aspect of school. And then when the opportunity arose here in August for me to take over as superintendent, I was very appreciative of our board's confidence in me to do that work. So Dr. Davenport, our previous superintendent, resigned for health reasons. And so that's tough because he did a very good job. And so I was saddened by the circumstances, but excited by the opportunity to come back home and lead the district. So I also put in there just a note about my family. My wife, Erin, is a teacher at Wacusta Elementary. And both my kids are in Grand Ledge Public Schools. And I even added my dog because my dog is the nephew of a couple of our support dogs. Many of you know that we have a facility dog in each one of our schools across the district. So we have 9 dogs total that are there to provide support for our students. So that's just a brief, quick background for me. But what I really want to talk about tonight are 2 things that I think really impact the community as a whole, and obviously the kids in our district. And the first is our strategic plan. And then the second is where we are with our bond project. So from a strategic planning standpoint, last May, we had a full day meeting, gathered a lot of data in the months leading up to May, and did some really great work in defining our strategic plan for the next 3 to 5 years. So our mission for Grand Ledge Public Schools is growing learners and preparing students. And that maps out to GLPS, growing learners, preparing students. And then our vision is that we'll provide every student with a high quality education, critical thinking skills, and social development to reach their highest potential in a safe and inclusive environment. And so that's our mission and vision that guides the work that we do every day. But you can also see from that document that I gave you that we have some focus areas as well. That's in the white box on the right-hand side, and in the gold box on the left-hand side is our belief statement. So at Grand Ledge Public Schools, we believe all students can learn. We believe it's the role of the school district to provide support and access for all students. We believe in an inclusive learning environment where every person is valued. We believe the GLPS staff are professionals who are vital to the health and future of the Grand Ledge community. And when we talk about the Grand Ledge community, that's the Grand Ledge School District community, which obviously includes Delta Township and the greater Grand Ledge area. We believe in a safe and inclusive environment where students can explore their interests and learn the skills they need to thrive in their communities. And we believe in partnerships between the family, community, and education stakeholders for the success of GLPS. That's why I'm here today. The idea, again, you able to put a face with a name, and me getting to be able to talk to you a little bit, I think is important. So the 5 areas that we're focusing on then are our academics and programming, our learning environment, culture, our communication and community engagement, personnel and leadership and operations. So we've done a lot of internal work here at the start of this school year to start to map out some SMART goals that are associated with those larger focus areas to guide our work over the next 3 to 5 years. So, so that's our strategic plan. That's what we're currently working on. That occupies a lot of our time as we're not only working to achieve these things, but also again, to set some of those SMART goals. And the last piece that I wanted to talk about today was just to give you an update on our bond project. As you know, we're a few years in. We appreciate the support of the community and appreciate the support of our families because it's really truly transforming our district. So on the left-hand side, you can see the projects that have already been completed. We did an addition to Holbrook Elementary School, added a 2nd floor, added a new gym, which allowed that to move from an early childhood center back to an elementary school. And so that opened last fall. Similarly, Beagle Middle School. Beagle originally, a long time ago, was a middle school, and then it became an elementary school. And now it's back to being a middle school again. So all of our 7th and 8th graders are housed at Beagle. So we did some additions and really expanded the footprint of that campus. We also added a competition pool to Beagle Middle School. And if you haven't seen the competition pool, it's beautiful. It's very well done. A wonderful facility, and we've had kids swimming in it this fall, and that's been great to see. In addition, because of that new, some of the new facilities there, we had added a new entrance off of M43. And so if you've gone west out of town, you've gone through the roundabout. And so that's the new entrance off M43. And then you can also see to the north, off of M43, our new track and field facility. So there's a new turf field. There's also a brand new track with bleachers. And so that's been used pretty heavily this fall, particularly for youth athletics. So a lot of youth football, some youth soccer, and then obviously we'll have track going in the spring as well. So it's been kind of neat. We had varsity soccer in their districts. The other night, we're playing at the main stadium off Jenny Street. And then we had football going on at the new track and field facility. And you could hear the games, you could hear both games going on at the same time, which was kind of cool. So currently then, projects that are ongoing right here in your backyard, Delta Center's addition is going on right now. So they've broken ground for that. which is will increase traffic flow within the building. We'll also get rid of the portables and add some new classrooms. And we'll add a new road, as I'm sure you're familiar, which will help with some of the congestion on Canal during drop off and pickup time, as that new road will go out to Michigan Avenue. And then currently, right now, we also are working on a new addition to the high school. So if you've been by Grand Ledge High School, it's a new fine arts and athletic addition. So there's a new weight room, some new offices, and new entrances that allow us to better manage the traffic flow if we have something going on in the auditorium and something going on in the gym. And so it'll be a beautiful new entrance. The other thing that will allow for is people to access the pool, which would be the community pool, at different times throughout the day, even when school is going on. So that new entrance will allow that to happen as well. And so then in the future, up next, we have, we're building a new Wacusta. So Wacusta Elementary School, we'll have a brand new school out there. There'll be heating and cooling upgrades throughout the district, additional security and safety upgrades. So things like secure entryways, cameras, and some of those things that we need to upgrade. Some of our roofs, some of our facilities. Also a haze road. So to help with some of the congestion on Nixon Road, there's a plan for a road to go behind the building for staging. So that way kids and parents can drop off there instead of having to line up along Nixon Road. Some additional technology upgrades, additions to Willow Ridge to add some new classrooms and a secure entryway. We're also looking at purchasing some new buses. Buses are pretty expensive, and so using a bond to help to build a replacement cycle is a really good way to do that. And then finally, the Dave and Betty Morris property, which is out north of town near Wacusta, that is the potential for an ag facility for some additional student programming. So all those things are on the horizon right now. So again, the transforming of the district, part of the bond was to reconfigure grade levels. So now our buildings are K4. We have 5, 6 at Hayes, 7, 8 at Beale, and then the high school. So that's what I brought tonight. I thought those were things that would be of interest to you all, but I'm also happy to answer any questions or have any comments or anything else you want to ask me.
Sure.
So I have a teenager. She goes to the high school, and one of few things that you guys do really great, which I absolutely love, is the communication that the schools have with the parents. Not only just the email, but just the texting. If you don't get it one way, you get the other way, which I absolutely love. And I think you guys have nailed that.
Good, thank you.
I appreciate the weekly emails that I think you put out, your office puts out.
Yes.
And that kind of, I always read them, even if it's just like standing in line somewhere, but it kind of keeps the parents informed too, which I really appreciate. I was gonna ask you about the high school because my kid's been asking me, what's gonna happen? And we're so tired of, so she wanted me to ask, and I said, okay, I'll ask, but.
So let her know we're slated to be done somewhere between March and April.
Okay.
The current construction project, and then the new stuff, the heating and cooling, which will be wonderful, because if you've ever been in there in particularly like in June, it gets pretty hot. That will come in the next part of it, but it'll be much less messy than what a lot of it's internal.
Okay, and then the last thing is, I'm not sure if it was your office who put it out, but I think a couple months ago, you guys put out like what the ranking was for average scores or something like that. And I really appreciate that, because I looked at the whole thing, and Grand Ledge schools are doing pretty good, comparatively speaking.
Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty proud of that. We're in the top 15% of SAT scores across the state. So we scored better than about 500 different districts. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that too. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
No, sorry.
Well, thank you. Now, at one time I was told that 55% of the students in Grand Ledge live in Delta Township. Is that still an accurate number, or has that changed?
You know, it's a great question. I don't know exactly what the what that percentage is. We're one of the largest districts in mid-Michigan, right? We cover well over 100 square miles. So I don't know what the percentage is, but I can find out and get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'm curious on that.
Yeah.
And I know the schools, the elementary schools that serve our residents are Willow Ridge and Delta Center. I notice you're doing additions to both of those. What's your projections in terms of increase in students and everything over the years in those schools?
Well, obviously, this is a growing area. And so with both of those buildings, part of obviously the safety and security discussion and also just the expansion discussion was getting the portables out of the parking lots and getting those students into the buildings. So with Delta Center, the new classrooms will actually be music and art. So that's the designation. The other thing, if you've ever been in Delta Center, it's shaped like a U. And so getting from one wing of the U to the other is pretty challenging, especially for little ones. And it means that kids are all sort of in one hallway at the same time. So the project is actually going to connect the wings of the U to make a circle, which will significantly increase traffic flow and just will make things better for the kids. Willow Ridge, similarly, the addition of a couple of classrooms to make sure we don't have portables. And then also with Willow Ridge in particular, creating a secure entrance like we've done in other buildings. So right now you can't get into the building. The doors are locked and that would remain, but we can do some more to make sure that folks are getting buzzed into the building once they're in there. So that's part of that project as well.
Great. Did you have a question, Dennis?
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent Burns. I think you sort of touched on it regarding the security and safety upgrades throughout. So I understand when you're doing your capital improvements, that's the time you put those in and you try to retro as you can fit those in as well. Because obviously the safety and security has been kind of paramount, with all the lockdowns and all that sort of thing. So I really appreciate you coming before the board. 10 years ago, when I first was on the board, we actually had joint board meetings with our two school districts. And I thought that was helpful. It just allowed for a lot of cross communication. It really wasn't a set agenda with specific topics, more general discussion, to form that coalescence between the school district and the township. So I really appreciate that you have come before us and made an outreach like that. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. And I would love to be able to come, not just now because I'm new, but to come, periodically and just give updates as to what's going on. I think it's important like you said, for local municipalities, especially that interact and, we're serving the same people, right? As evidenced by folks with kids in the district on your board. So I would love to be able to come back periodically and to give some updates as to what's going on in the district.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep, for sure.
Thanks. Well, we appreciate you being here tonight.
All right. Well, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Thank you very
Yep, you
much.
take care. Next up, we have our traditional Small Business Saturday resolution with, it's hard to believe Thanksgiving will be here before we know it. And the Saturday after Thanksgiving is Small Business Saturday. So we have our usual proclamation recognizing that day. So I'd move adoption. Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We have our agenda before us. Any additions or deletions? If not, a motion to approve.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Public hearings. We'd like to open the public hearing at this time period for the fiscal year 2023 proposed budget. Now is your opportunity to speak. Were we going to have any just overview of it or just let, and if there is anybody here from the audience to speak? Seeing nobody from the public wishing to speak on it, we'll close the public hearing then. Communications, you have an update on the waste water resource recovery facility in there. Public comments for any item. Seeing nobody in the audience for public comments, we move to the consent agenda. It's a pleasure of the board tonight on the consent agenda. Karen,
I move to approve consent agenda as presented.
is there support?
Support.
There is support. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on approving the consent agenda this evening.
Trustee Monica,
Yes.
trustee Cascarilla,
Yes.
trustee Brewer, trustee Bowen,
Yes.
treasurer Fittima.
Yes.
Clerk Clark is yes, supervisor
Yes.
Fletcher, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Move down to items of business here. We have number 13, case number 9-22-6, special land use permit for the residential plan unit development at Echo Valley. What's the pleasure of the board on that item? Dennis.
I move that the Delta Township Board approve of the special land use permit for an RV low density residential plant unit development in case number 9-22-6 for the following reasons as listed in our package 1 through 2, and then with the following stipulations 1 through 2 as well.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Any discussion? Seeing none? Oh, yeah. go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm curious. I read through the minutes and the public comments and all that sort of thing, but I'm curious what the objections were. If, I don't know if Gary can speak to or who can speak to, please. You know, a couple different people, residents said the plan was terrible, but didn't elaborate. If you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly the same kind of objections that we got the first time. It was
Right.
more or less the traffic, which this new plan, and the representative of the applicants here, if you have any more questions, but
Mhm.
it will drive a little bit more traffic onto Whispering Pines where, because now you're losing that connection to Blue Ridge, where the people that kind of lived on the north end of Whispering Pines might have left out that way. But otherwise, there's kind of not really anything objectionable. It's just basically adding open space and then you're subtracting. It's a total of 6 lots because there's 64 lots in this development plus an outlot that they're going to sell for residential that won't be part of the HOA for the open space. But then the previous one was 71 lots. So it's actually be a reduction of lots and then
Okay.
basically but yeah, it was mostly just traffic was the concern.
Okay, and why do they need, I'm unfamiliar with this. Why do they need a special land use permit?
So so this is a PUD that allows, in a lot of cases, it would be denser and smaller lots, but they're just basically just using it to do they're reducing the minimum width of the lots, but they're not really increasing density at all. They're way under what they're even allowed under normal zoning. So that's just basically to get the reduced width is the only reason they're using the PUD.
And these are homes, not condos, right?
Homes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. The HOA is just for the maintenance of the open space.
And the traffic concern wasn't residents going through, it was people cutting through.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. There was kind of like a lot of these, it ends up being, complaints about Amazon traffic and all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there was complaints about people cutting through, but this neighborhood, even when this is built, is going to have 2 exits. So it didn't really meet our threshold for like a traffic study.
Right,
So,
yeah,
yep.
I saw that in there
Yeah.
too. Just, that cutting through thing seems to be a problem that Delta Township
Yeah.
has in a lot of our neighborhoods. I've heard that complaint over and over.
And this wouldn't really add to that because they're not adding like a new entrance. It's just kind of building out and, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very
Yep, no
much.
problem.
Other questions?
But just a comment, the building out of this had already been planned, much earlier. So, I mean, the residents were aware of that and it's not adding any more houses. It's actually adding less with the green space. So, I think it's an improvement.
See no other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 14, the transmittal of the 2023 to 2028 capital improvements plan. And I'll move that the board acknowledge receipt of the plan as prepared and adopted by the planning commission. Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Questions? Andrea?
Yeah, I just have a question about the timing, and I don't know if this is typically when we're receiving this plan, but it seems that it's more valuable to receive it a little earlier in the process before we've,
You're right.
I know we have the public hearing
it
on the
is later
budget, so
than-
I feel like it's
later than
timing is
usual.
off.
I
Okay.
think some of the issues are getting everybody that was involved in the process together in one time to get it together. So, in order to get everybody on board and, agreed upon dates, it took a little longer this time. So, yeah.
Okay.
Typically it is earlier, a month earlier, but then we'll continue to try to get it out in September. So you have some time to study it before the budget. So.
Thanks for clarifying that,
Yeah.
Harry. I thought this was a little late and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure why, but thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Managers report. What do you have for us today, Brian?
Thanks, Mr. Supervisor and board members. First of all, I hope you enjoy your new chairs.
I do. They're very nice.
The old ones are on the auction block and I think have already sold surprisingly, but
You should
anyways.
warn them about the one that keeps falling down.
That would be all of them.
Yeah. Just a couple items. A reminder, we have community awards coming up. So if you haven't bought your ticket, please do that. I will be at the Michigan Municipal League later this week. I think Treasurer Fidoa is also attending that. And then last but not least, I just wanted to announce staff member news. Linda Wells, our HR generalist, put in for her retirement coming up after the new year. So in February, happy for her and trying to utilize her knowledge in the remaining months and to move forward, but we'll post for a similar type position in our office. So but that's all I have, but happy to answer any questions of the board.
Any questions? Okay, great, thanks. We have a closed session. Before we do that, why don't we take final public comment? Any final public comment before we go into closed session? Seeing none, a motion to go into the session would be in order. Moved by Beth, supported by Karen, that we go into closed session. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Clerk Clark is present. Treasurer Fedewa.
Dennis.
Yes.
Trustee Bowen.
Yes.
Trustee Brewer. Trustee Cascarilla.
Yes.
Trustee Mahika.
Yes.
We are in closed session. Across the street.
That makes sense.
Yeah, likewise.
So-
Thanks again, I appreciate it, yeah, thank you.
We got along, I'm thinking.
Oh, there you go, that's right, you got
Although I
it.
am a Chippewa. so
Yeah, go around us, yeah.
I was good to have a leisure.
Absolutely, good to be here. Yeah, well, thank you, yeah, my pleasure, yeah. I'm happy to be here, so thanks.
Shake out every class.
The price tag. I'm sure we wanted them.
Yeah, I know, that's.
I feel like I'm on hee-haw.
That room is so cool.
That mini pearl.
We'll return to open session now. Do any board members have any final comments this evening? See no further business before us. We are adjourned.